Hi, I'm Astrid Korin. I'm an executive coach and I run the Inside OutLeadership Programme. I'm about to be a guest on Prosper's OnlineProsperity Show, and I am really excited for you to hear this conversation. You will hear a little bit about my journey into coaching and what it is about the importance of going inwards, of understanding ourselves, of knowing our values, our buttons, what triggers us, what has led us to be the people that we are today, and how that shows up in our leadership. And perhaps learn something or two about how you might be able to use that and be responsive in your leadership and show up the way that you want to show up every day.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and you're tuned into the #1 destination for exclusive insights into transformative leadership, personal growth, and authentic success. Now, today's spotlight is Astrid Korin, who is a transformative executive coach. Now, Astrid, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Prosper. It's really good to be here.
Absolutely. Well, the pleasure is all mine. Having seen the track record of where you've been and what you do, I think our audiences are in for a good one today. Now, for those that are watching right now, have you ever wondered what it's like to maybe transition from being a leading global education provider or working within that sort of a space and then get into a way where you're guiding leaders towards their own inner resilience? Now, Astrid, who was once at the helm of global education and consultancy, she found her true calling during the pandemic. While everybody else was busy coughing into their elbows and socially distancing, she was connecting with herself, and her journey led her to become a senior practitioner that is accredited by the EMCC, and she's now dedicating her life to helping leaders connect deeply within themselves and their teams. Now, during that time, Astrid co-founded the Inside OutLeadership Programme, which is a pathway designed for CEOs and senior leaders that are passionate about building resilience in today's complex world. Now, with over 270 alumni, this program emphasizes authentic leadership, self-awareness, and sustainable success. Now, Astrid, I could go on and talk about things I'm not even qualified to talk about. I just want to ask the audience, one thing before we actually get started, because I want them to pay attention and really engage with this. And for those that are watching, please reflect on your own leadership journey and maybe find out if you have ever faced a pivotal moment that has reshaped your path. Please let us know in the comments below. And obviously, Astrid would be checking out those comments. We want to foster a community of shared growth and understanding. Okay. Now, Astrid, your world started off in global consultancy and you then pivoted, so to speak, because that was the word for that time, into executive coaching. Tell us a little bit about the journey of what was happening in your tenure as a global consultant.
Lovely. Thank you. Wow. What an introduction. It's always very humbling and lovely to see what people pick out when they look at you and they look at your profile and your track. And it's lovely that you picked up on Inside Out and some other really important parts of my journey. So what was happening? So during the pandemic, I was leading the consultancy function of a global education consultancy. And you can imagine with the whole world shutting down, schools closing down, lots of people were looking for answers. How do we do distance learning in remote rural communities in some of the most disadvantaged parts of Africa, for instance? How do we keep children safe when we don't know where they are? We can't get into their homes. We can't see what's happening to them on a daily basis when they're coming to school. So we had a sort of a massive rise where a lot of people were struggling to keep working. We had a massive rise in demand for support, for research, for our teams to support our clients to come up with solutions. And so it became a really, really busy time for us. Where everybody else was starting to slow down, it became super busy for us. And it also felt like there was a lot of pressure for us to deliver and perform, that this was really important. It was important for the people and the clients that we had, but it was also really important for the business, in that lots of other parts of the business were sort of closing down, shutting down, slowing down, and remaining, high cost, low income. The consultancy part of the organization really was doing quite well, and so we needed to maintain that, and we needed to keep performing. So I did what a lot of leaders do in that situation, and I worked more. I doubled down. I took every spare hour of the day, bearing in mind I had 2 small children at home that I was also attempting to homeschool and doing a very poor job at it. But with my husband, we came up with a sort of a schedule of handover. So I would do the very early morning and then hand over to him at lunchtime. He would do the afternoon. And my mum was with us for one of the lockdowns, which was very helpful. But what I got myself into was a routine of getting up at 3:00 in the morning, working until the kids woke up, 6:30, then being with them for the morning, then picking up work and working the whole afternoon, then picking up with the children. And I was sort of round the clock. And I would sleep from 10 till 3 and just keep going, keep pushing, keep doing, keep going. And it was at that point that one of my colleagues, actually not a colleague, yes, she was a colleague, but she was also a mentor outside of the organization, said, "Have you ever tried coaching?" I said, no, I have never tried coaching. So I got myself a coach, and she was really, really helpful. She kept me sane. She helped me to be kinder to myself, give a little bit of distance between me and the work, slightly disassociate my self-worth from what I was achieving at work, and manage me through it, really. So that was my first exposure to coaching. And then I thought, well, this is great. These are great skills. I want to use these skills in my leadership. So let me go and train in coaching. And what I didn't anticipate when I went to do that was that I would fall in love with coaching so much that from the beginning of the coach training, I would know that that was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It was a real revelation, and it was so quick and profound. Usually these things sort of they're a bit of a slow burn, aren't they? The kind of, you get a bit of a taste of something and then it sort of percolates and so on. But for me, from that very first weekend, I was hooked. I was hooked to the idea. I was hooked to what I thought it could do for people. And in the breakout conversations that we were having where we were practicing, I actually learned so much about myself that it became a journey of personal development as well as skills development, professional development, and a kind of professional pivot towards something completely different. And it's where I was also able to understand, having done a lot of therapy in the past, where I was able to understand better the connection between what had happened to me as a child and my experiences growing up, and how that influenced my leadership and how I showed up as a leader for my teams, my tendency to people please, to rescue, to struggle to have difficult conversations and hold people to account and give constructive feedback and all of those things. So now that's not to say that coaching and therapy are the same thing. They're not. But the type of coaching that I do is transformative coaching, and it does look underneath the surface to understand your belief system and how you view the world, the lens through which you see the world. And all of that, of course, is formed by your experiences and the people that you grow up around, the people that influence you. So that, yeah, I mean, I know that perhaps a long-winded answer to the question, how did I get into coaching? But that was roughly how it all panned out.
You see, you let people know what it's like to come from the inside out. And I think that's exactly what you just did for us there, which really puts us in a frame of having an understanding of your journey. Now, you started us off when it was all high stakes. You're waking up at 3 a.m. up to 6 a.m., which if you would ask somebody else who might know the better words for that, that's a cruising for burnout. Did that actually happen in that particular time, or was that just obviously you being able to function because it had to be done first as a mom or as the employee that you were?
I was absolutely on the road to burnout. I don't know if I quite reached it, because I think burnout really is quite, I mean, you get to the point where you cannot function anymore. And I never really got to that point, but I certainly got to the point where I was hyper vigilant all the time. I was on high alert. I never relaxed. I felt it in my body. My body started to crumble. I was a runner at the time. I don't run anymore anyway, that's another story. But my body started to crumble, and I felt the effort of running was quite intense. So I had to slow all of that down. I had muscle ache, joint pain, all those kind of physical symptoms that tell you that you're on the path towards. But I think the coaching really helped to keep me going that little bit longer, that I needed to get a little bit longer just to kind of get out on the other side. And then when things lifted and the whole team was we were back to full capacity, because we also were, had people on furlough. So we had limited capacity, but lots more work to do. And the stress, I think the stress of having to make really difficult decisions about who took on what work and who traveled. Actually, when the restrictions were lifted, I didn't make those decisions on my own. There were people around me, and we worked as a team, and the individuals themselves also had obviously had a big say as to whether or not they traveled. But the things that would wake me up in the middle of the night were the stories of people getting stuck. In actual fact, I had some people stuck in Zimbabwe who couldn't leave, who couldn't get out of the country, who had to quarantine in Dubai because Dubai had closed down their borders as the plane that was in transit was, on the way to landing in Dubai. And that person had been out on a mission for 3 or 4 weeks, was desperate to get home, and then lands in Dubai and finds out that they can't enter the UK. Things like that really kept me up at night, made me worry. And I know that it came from a place of feeling deeply responsible for the decisions. And part of that was attached to, who I am as a human, and the fact that I have this belief that I'm working on, but I have this deep belief that I am only worthy if other people think I'm worthy, and if other people think that I have done a good job, and I haven't made a mistake, I haven't let them down. And so that ultimately was what was affecting me most, was that it was in my subconscious. I didn't know it at the time, and it's only on reflection afterwards that I uncovered all of this. But wouldn't it have been great if at that time I could have had that kind of understanding of myself from the inside out, to be able to change the thinking loops and the anticipatory worry and the rumination and all of that stuff? Because I do believe that, and this is part of the program that I run, it's not the hard things that we do that erode us. we do hard things all the time. It's the worrying about them that is the most eroding, because we worry and we build things up in the lead up, or we push things away and we procrastinate because we fear getting them wrong, or that this time this is the time they're going to find out that I'm not as good as they think they think I am, and so on. And it's that erodes us. It's not the stuff that we have to do as leaders.
It's the monsters under our bed, right? You know, the proverbial monsters that obviously we think are there, but you know, it's probably just a piece of clothing or things of that nature. Now, Astrid, I think we're there now. You keep alluding to the younger you that would have had to do certain things in order for you to either please the people that were around, or you know, or do certain things without having to consult yourself first based on how you felt during that particular moment. And I could say a lot of people go through life without realizing that, because this is just how maybe some cultures and how people are brought up, because sometimes kids are meant to be seen and not be heard, and that automatically just, you know, puts a lead on people's emotions and creates some sort of belief system that would have emanated and then culminated to what you were experiencing. Now, if we could maybe go back to the little younger you, if you would let us, what was it like growing up? You know, would you have envisioned that you be in a high stakes job like that, or would you have been like my little daughter who thinks she's going to be a witch when she grows up?
Yeah. So as a child, I was I'm looking for the word imbibed. No, that's not the wrong word. Infused with a belief that rich people were bad. And if you were rich, it was because somehow you had cheated the system, right, or you had inherited, or you didn't deserve, or if you were, well, certain rich people were okay and acceptable as long as they gave away half of their wealth and were doing, you know, good things for charity and so on. And so in order to be a good girl, and in order to belong, to be accepted, to be worthy, I felt very much that I had to do something philanthropic. I felt very much that I had to be successful, but not too successful, and doing something that was meaningful and giving back to the world. Now, there's loads of good stuff in that, right? And always when we talk about our survival behaviors, one of my survival behaviors was to strive for something that perhaps I hadn't necessarily created for myself, but was something that I thought would please and appease, particularly my father. It wasn't a bad decision. It was a great decision. I went into international development at uni, and I took that path, and I really enjoyed it. And I always felt a little bit like an imposter. Now, that could have been all sorts of different reasons, but the dream, I think, of that first phase, which I did enjoy and I got a lot out of, so I have absolutely no regrets. I don't know necessarily that it came really from within me. I did always want to serve. I did always want to support people and be of value to society. And I guess when I found coaching, that felt so much more me. It felt so much, it felt like I had come home, and I would never have been able to get into coaching had I not been a leader myself, and I had not gone through that journey, and I had not had a coach because I had been in that position. So it all works out, and it's the path that I took. And now I've forgotten your question. What was your question?
That's all right. We're getting there. We're getting there because we're sort of uncovering how you went on this path to discover what was within, which not a lot of people would have seen in these high stakes sort of environments, that you had to juggle all these decisions and make sure everybody else was okay at the expense of you being okay. Now, waking up at 3 a.m. for somebody else's business and somebody else's, how do I put this, for somebody else's gain, as a lot to bear, especially for somebody who now had to also look after the kids, who also had to run a family and, be there for those that were there for you, because 3 a.m. is the witch's hour, really. And that's when
I get it. I get it. Yes, yes. Okay, so what is it that was driving me? What was it that was underneath my iceberg that was driving me to do that? I get it. Yes, my apologies. Well, I mean, I think that was my childhood. It was defined by service for others. It was defined by, and then getting resentful for it. So that's what I witnessed around me. My dad was very selfless in the way that he engaged with people and in the way that he went about relationships, but it was always on his terms, and he would then get resentful and frustrated if he didn't feel that he was getting back what he had put out there. And so for me, I learned that to stay safe as a child, safe, you know what I mean by safe, like to be held along, I had to be always overextending myself for others. So even in the context of the home, I remember if I would come back from school and I'd be exhausted and I'd just crash on the couch for a little bit and watch TV. My parents weren't home, they both worked and they came back later. And I remember if I heard the car pulling up, and I knew exactly the sound of my dad's car, my mom's car, pulling up outside, I would stand up, I would turn the TV off, and I would whiz around, make sure that the dishwasher was undone, or that if it wasn't undone, that I was busy undoing it as they came in, unloading it as they came in. Or if the laundry was out and it was dry, that I had brought it in, because God forbid, if it was there and it needed to be done, then it needed to be done and someone had to do it. And so there was this expectation that if you were sitting down, it was because there were no jobs that were left undone. Right? Jobs had to be done first, and the jobs had to be done for the family. And, that instilled a great work ethic in me. It made me dread laziness. So that's another thing. I have a great association of doing nothing with laziness, which I'm working on really, really hard. And when I sit down on the couch and I read a book and half an hour later have the urge to stand up and do things, I'm like, no, just stay put. Keep reading. You're okay. You're safe. So yeah, I think that was a big shaping context that probably led to those.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for letting us go through that. But you had this person that informed you about coaching and obviously then got you onto the right direction. Do you think what they saw that then led them to tell you that? Because you can't just rock up to someone and be like, hey, Astrid, I think you need a new hairdo or something like that, because then that's like, wait a minute, what are you talking about, right? So, in that sort of context, do you acknowledge maybe what you think they would have seen in you?
Good question. I'm going to go back and ask them and find out, but if they can remember. But I think they would have seen what I'm talking about. They would have seen me overextending. Mm-hmm. They would have seen me not holding any boundaries. They would have seen me quite emotional with them because I allowed myself to be who I was and to show that I was struggling and overwhelmed and feeling inadequate and, blaming myself for all the things that went wrong, not taking any credit for any of the things that went right. Yearning to please. I think they probably saw all of that. And it's interesting because they're not a person who suffers from a lot of these things. So yeah, the fact that they probably saw it in me, it's interesting. I'll go back to them and find out.
Fantastic. You put it in the comments later on because people will be eager for that. Because the reason why I'm asking this is fish do not see the water that they swim in. And somebody could be watching this right now and thinking, oh, I'm all right. I can watch this in between my break while you're having toast in your mouth and a coffee in your hand, and maybe you're holding your daughter, and that might be okay because it's doable. You are able, you're managing. But if somebody would just put a mirror in front of you and just look at how you look at that particular time, it's not a sight to behold for most of us. And half of the time we don't see it. So I'm glad somebody did that for you. And I'm hoping this is doing that for the person who's watching this right now. Now, once you jumped into coaching, Astrid, you felt like it was your calling. You jumped in with both your feet, but you've done that before. You've actually landed a plane, if I'm not mistaken, right? So why was this different?
It's so funny that you bring that up. Yes, I landed a plane. I was 16, and we had the most incredible maths teacher at school, and he was a fanatic of planes and flying. So he had this course that he ran for a select few of us, and we got to fly. I grew up in the south of France, and we got to fly from a small airport near Cannes all around the bay, and incredible. And you know what? I wasn't even afraid of that. That was not a fearful experience at all. I was very excited. And I think it pretty much the same with coaching. I think that I didn't even think twice. It was just meant to be. It was so natural. And at the time, my husband was running his own startup. So from a family perspective, me going freelance, becoming an entrepreneur at the same time was perhaps not the smartest move. But hey, we made it work, as we do. He's done multiple things since then, and now he's freelancing again. As in he's got his own business. So yeah. What made it possible? I mean, I think I was well surrounded, well supported. I had and still have the same incredible supervisor. She's amazing. I have multiple supervisors, actually, and I wrote about it on LinkedIn this morning. And that's a real anchor to my practice and my business. And it's where when I go into a bit of self-doubt, when I'm feeling lonely, because it's quite lonely running your own business, when I get stuck into the business side of things and I lose sight of the joy, supervision is what keeps me on track. And she was there at the time, and the people who ran the course, I built some a close relationship with one of my trainers, Nick Thorpe. Another shout out to him. He's incredible, and just did what made me successful as a consultant is what makes me successful now. So the relationships and the network, building relationships with people, for the people, for who they are. So in the very early months, I already had clients sort of lined up and inbound from the relationships that I had during consultancy. So the day I officially started the business, I already was 30-40% committed. So that helps a lot. And I think that's the way I like to build and grow the business. I reach out to people, similar to what happened between the two of us on LinkedIn. I reach out to people who I see and I think, oh, that looks like a sound person. I wonder what they're like. Let's have a conversation, and try and stay in touch and up to date with as many as possible, and dip in and out of their lives here and there. And not ever with the intention that will turn into a business opportunity, but more that, it's a lovely human connection, and it's nurturing. And what if one day, perhaps, maybe there might be something that we could do together that might be also mutually beneficial. So, yeah.
I like that a lot because I can't remember who said this, but I love this statement. Ask not what the world will give to you, but ask what you will give to the world. So it's exactly the approach that you're putting into the world there. And congratulations. It's not easy. I mean, just for those at the back of the room that are still hung up on the 3 a.m. starts, are they still happening?
No. No, they are not. In fact, quite the opposite. I don't start coaching until 9:30.
Right.
And I do that so that I can exercise in the morning and see my children, so I don't have to choose between one or the other, and still wake up at a normal time. I also have some days where there's a big chunk in the middle of the afternoon, and I will just take the dog out for a long walk and hang out. No, I'm much, much better at taking care of myself. Also, partly because a rundown coach is a bad coach, right? Is a terrible coach. Like if a coach shows up and they don't have the fuel and the resources in themselves for themselves, then what are they going to pour onto their clients? They need to be fully fueled, fully resourced, fully rested. And I don't go out late in the weeknights anymore. I don't drink alcohol except occasionally on a weekend. So all of that kind of contributes to me feeling good. And if I feel good, then I'm a better coach for my clients.
I can imagine, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you've got people that are relying on you, and sort of in your instance, the kids, the husband that you spoke about, and also the supervisors that had all this faith in you before you were even confident in your own sort of own realm. Now, from the way you're talking, Astrid, it really does seem like you've arrived, and welcome. So many people will still be out there chasing their tail, trying to figure it all out, and still not come across people that will show them that there could be a better way. Now, ever since you got into this coaching sort of realm, you've started diving deeper into embodiment and really experiencing your own self as you're going, and really coming from a place of experience, not coming from a place of learned, knowledge. And you've also really integrated the mind-body connection. What is it that you're discovering, and how is it showing up in your coaching?
What a beautiful question. Well, thank you for the vote of confidence. I would say I probably haven't arrived yet, and I'm not sure that we ever really do. But I get what you mean by that. I think that there's something liberating about doing the thing that makes your heart sing. And therefore,
I'll tell you something, we wouldn't have been having this conversation had you not had some level of connection. You get what I mean, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's it. It's right. It's a connection to self, and therefore that allows a connection to others. And I love that. Well, I love and sometimes get frustrated that it's a never-ending journey, right? That there will always be things that will come up. There will always be new realizations, or there will be new situations in which old scripts and old patterns come back up again, and you go to supervision and you unpack it and you go, oh, really? That old thing again? That old chestnut again? I thought I dealt with that. So continuous process, it will always be a lifelong journey. And I'm so sorry. Remind me the second part of your question.
Absolutely.
About embodiment. It was about embodiment.
Embodiment, yes.
Mind-body connection. And that actually, I feel like I'm at the very beginning of my journey with that. I do practice yoga for a really long time. I'm also really interested in the use of self in coaching. So the understanding of what the body and my experience of my clients is telling me about what may or may not be happening between us in the space, or what may be going on for my clients. And the idea of being embodied, the idea of noticing your body at any given moment, coming back to it, I feel like, and again, mindfulness meditation, I've been meditating for 8 years now, as my Calm app will testify, with the number of streaks and so on. And I still feel that I'm only at the beginning of that journey. I'm still learning to connect what's happening in my body with what's happening in my mind, and coming back to my body as an anchor. You know, when you notice that you're triggered, you notice that you're off on one and something has pushed your button, be it a new button or an old button. The practice of coming back to the body, is still something I'm actively working on, and I think always will be. How that shows up with clients, I think that it's very obvious to clients when I'm not in my body, and more often with clients I'm very present. I don't get distracted. I am fully into whatever they are saying to me. On occasion, my mind will wander, but it's very rare, and I can usually catch it. So what they will experience is deep connection. They will experience presence. They'll experience warmth and care. Dare I say love? I know some people find that awkward. But yeah, it's true. I think when two people have that kind of intimate relationship that is so unique and so different to any other relationship that we have in our day-to-day. You know, friends, one thing, partners, family, but the relationship that you have with a coach is so unique because it is so deep and profound and intimate, but yet not familial. And I think that's what they will experience. They will feel that, and they'll know that I care, and I really want the best for them.
Oh, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we come across so many people in our lives, and they usually is somebody who just shows up in front of us that really, really, first of all, allows us to be, then allows us to do, and then have that which we want. Obviously, you will be enamored to a person like that. Now, you are now is this the 13th cohort inside your Inside Out Leadership?
That's right. Yeah. So we've got 3 ongoing right now, and we have had 10, 7 of which we have some really good impact data for. Previous cohorts that we weren't capturing data quite so scientifically, but yeah, we're on 13 cohorts of Inside Out, and it is the one thing that I'm the most proud of my entire career, because what it does is, well, first of all, I co-founded it with someone I profoundly admire, Maggie Farah. She was a colleague when I was in Education Development Trust, and she is a mindfulness teacher, practitioner. She also coaches leaders, and her background is in education. And we came together to build this program. And what we did is we brought together the best of the best. The tools that I am drawn to using most often with clients from a coaching perspective, with ancient contemplative wisdom, from mindfulness, Buddhist practices, with neuroscience, with psychology, with what we now know about the mind-body connection. So we built it together in around this time in 2023, and it has been wildly successful. And for now, up until now, really through our networks and then word of mouth. And now we're entering into a phase of growth. So we're looking at partnerships with other organizations that have a slightly wider reach. It is about leadership. It is about resilience in leadership. And it is about leaders getting in touch with themselves, their inner world, what's going on for them that might be driving them that in their subconscious that they might not be aware of. And then the practices to be able to be more embodied in their work. So the practices to notice what's going on, catch themselves, and choose how they want to respond. So it's helping them to move from reactive leadership, where we're on the treadmill, we are shooting emails off, we are making decisions, we are, driven by the pace and the demands and the to-do list, to being more responsive, being more reflective. We call it the 5 C's: calm, clear, curious, courageous, and compassionate. And the program helps leaders to get to that place where they are checking their assumptions, noticing their judgments. They are self-regulating so that their nervous system is in their parasympathetic branch. So they are able to access all of their cognitive resources. They're not hijacked. They are compassionate towards themselves and others. So when we talk about compassion, we talk a lot about compassion for self, kindness for self. And they're courageous. They're able to have courageous conversations. We don't call them difficult conversations anymore, that are more likely to lead to growth, connection, innovation, and so on.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. And if somebody does decide they want to participate in the Inside Out program, could you let us know how long it takes, and also how people can be able to subscribe or get started?
Yeah. So we have an open cohort starting in September. We have very few places left on that. So there might not be spots left by the time this goes live. But there will be another cohort, an open cohort, starting in January of 2026. At the moment, the format is 4 sessions over 4 months, 3 of which are online, 1 of which is a full day face-to-face, and that's based in London. However, we do have alternative models. So we have a fully online model or a fully face-to-face model. And those are appropriate for organizations that want to do it in-house. So we've had multiple in-house cohorts to date. And usually what happens is someone will come on the open cohort, have their own experience, and then invite us to come in-house and work with their leaders. And then they can choose how they want the delivery model to work. But in essence, what's most important is the practice in between. So that's why we extend it over a 4 to 5 month period. And as I say, we can flex to the different demands of different organizations. If you want to get in touch, you can go to the website. It's astridkorin.co.uk. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. By all means, I think that's probably the best place to connect and start a dialogue. And I can send you some information on the content and the impact. So at the moment, we've just received our aggregate impact evaluation. It was a third-party external evaluation that took a baseline at the start and an end line at the end of the program and measures the change. And they found a statistically significant positive outcome across all of our measures, including well-being, the ability to let go of work outside of work, that ability to hold boundaries, and to show up as the leaders that they want to be. So, and I can share all of that. We have nothing to hide. There's some helpful development points in the deck, in the evaluation, and I've been sharing that publicly for all to see. So this phase that we're entering into now is a review, refresh, update. So the format might change. We might extend it. There might be an extra component in response to the evaluation. But we're working towards that with a plan to launch in January 2026 with the new model. And that will also have an app that goes alongside it, which will give you prompts, daily prompts for the kind of reflections and the exercises and the tools to help increase even further that translation from the content, the knowledge to the behavior and the impact.
Absolutely. Now, Astrid, indulge me here a little bit, if you may. This strikes me as somewhat of a pattern break, where people are just going through the humdrums of their lives, waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning, just going to bed at 10 p.m. and just whatever's happening in between, copious amounts of coffee and everything else just to stay up. And pretty much just going through it. And for them, it's normal, but you're giving people an opportunity, tapping them proverbially on the shoulder and say, hey, you stop. And I kind of feel like you're giving people back to themselves. Now, this is a whole different Astrid than the Astrid we would have spoken to, who's got bags in her eyes just because she's woken up at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Giving people back to themselves. Yeah. And, I'm not the one doing the work. They are the people doing the work. They are giving themselves back to themselves, but we are creating the environment for them to do that. And I think that, we run the danger of going through life trying to get to the next thing. And we do that on a daily basis, getting to the next meeting, to the next project, to the next, to lunch, to the afternoon, to the evening, to the getting the kids to bed and to the sitting on the couch watching Netflix for half an hour and sleep and repeat. And on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a larger scale, it's getting to the next level, right? Oh, I'll find better work-life balance when I get that next job. Or when I'm at that level of leadership, I won't be in the weeds so much because I'll have other people doing some of that for me. Or I just need to get out of this toxic environment. And in my next role, things will be better. I need a clean slate. We carry ourselves with us. Like if we don't decide that we need to do some introspection and some work on why it is that we feel drawn into that kind of lifestyle. And I'm not saying it's our fault. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we have a responsibility and we live in a society that is going to draw out those tendencies because of the way technology is functioning, because of the demands that people place on us and the demands that other people place, that we place on ourselves. But there is another way. We don't have to operate that way. And it doesn't mean that we produce less, that we are less productive. We don't lose our edge just because we slow down for a moment.
Really? I don't know about you, Astrid, but I'm working right now. And how fun has this been?
Oh, amazing. Thank you. It's been really good. I've really enjoyed it.
Great stuff. Now, indulge me again, if you may. It's 2019. Maybe the year just doesn't matter, but it's the clock has just gone 03:45. And there is an Astrid type person out there in the world who's just woken up and is maybe getting a break from the work that they've been doing. And now they're just scrolling through their social media. Bam, they come across this video right at this part here. What would you tell them right now about who they are being and what they probably will be missing out on if they don't stop and really be mindful?
Oh, that's a big question. I'm pausing, and I think that that's what I would like them to do. Pause and ask themselves, what is most important to me right now? Why am I here? What am I doing? Am I using this time that I have on earth in the way that I want to? And am I being who I want to be? They're big existential questions, but I think that we need something to jolt us out of the autopilot and to course correct, whatever that means. And that can be at a micro level. Oh, I'm scrolling here right now. Is that really what I want to be doing? Or do I want to go deep into one or two things? Or do I want to put my phone away? And it can be for the bigger things. So am I on an autopilot treadmill towards retirement where finally when I retire, I will relax, which Ding, ding, you won't, because if that's not the person that you have been, it's not the person you will be. It's like what Robert Poynton talks about in his book, You Are Not a To-Do List. He talks about time being not something that we get through, but something that we live in. And that really struck me. Like, I'm living in time. So how am I living in time? And what do I want to be different? And perhaps that will lead them to a very practical, nurturing, insightful program like Inside Out. Or a coach. Maybe there's a coach out there. This is the work. So this is why we brought it all together, because we wanted to make it accessible and affordable for people to get the kind of insights that they might get in one-to-one coaching that is far more expensive and less accessible for people. So that was part of the impetus for developing it in the first place.
Thank you. You know, on a quest to find yourself, you literally help other people discover who they can be. And I think you're obviously your partner and everybody else involved with what you guys are doing, you're doing your part in making the world a better place. Because if one leader comes back from, your courses, the Inside Out program, a better person, that impacts their whole team, that impacts the team's families, that impacts the team's kids, that impacts the team's pets and everybody else in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you literally are doing what you set out to do in the very first place, but now you're doing it intentionally, which is making the world a better place for somebody. Now that you've brought us into your world, Astrid, what's next? What can we be excited about? You actually owe us a book, if you ask me.
Well, thank you. That's lovely to hear. The book is a twinkle in my eye. There is an idea, and you're not the first person to have said that, which is very exciting. And it's percolating. It's one of those things. I'm just going to let it percolate. And I think it is the Inside Out book. And I think it will be the book that supports the program, but also, intertwined with the human stories and my story and client stories and so on. So what is next is more of the same. Is more of the same. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but there's a team of 3 of us now. So it's myself and my co-founder Maggie, and I don't want to call him an associate because he's more than an associate. He's the 3rd member of the co-founding team, Roger Bretherton. He's a psychologist and he is amazing. He came in to help us to start delivering more cohorts in September, and he has added so much to the program. He's added so much to my practice, and I've learned so much from him. And so the 3 of us are going into a period of deconstructing and rebuilding. So we're going to make it even better. And we are going to launch all of this with the app that goes with it in January 2026. So that's the what's next. It's an evolution of the same thing, but to improve the quality of what we're doing.
Absolutely. And I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent on the call today. I mean, the journey that you have taken and how you've literally made this your own really is amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for your lovely questions and some of the way that you've played back some of my work to me, and the care you've put into the conversation. It's been lovely. It really, really has. Thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you there. Now, for those that are watching right now, if that did not touch something deep inside you, I encourage you to check your pulse. Astrid's story really reminds us of, I think, the strongest leaders aren't the loudest. They're the ones that are just willing to go inward and actually face that discomfort and rebuild their power from a place of presence and not performance. So many of us are working far too hard so we can go and see other marvels of the world while we walk past ourselves every single day and not seeing the marvel of who we are. I can't wait to see what you do with this information. And for those that are keen to join and jump onto the Inside Out Leadership Program, it's more than a course, as you have heard. It's a tap on the shoulder. It's a revolution in and of itself. It's there for everyone who's ready to lead and lead with humility and heart. So I'll be putting those links in the show notes there so that you can jump on and actually connect with Astrid and her team. And as you have heard, they're fully booked. So you just join the waiting list and hope for the best. But if anything in this conversation has struck a chord with you, first of all, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, what part of Astrid's journey do you see yourself in? So many of us are on the verge of burning out or external pressures, whatever is happening in your world. This could be the time to put your hand up and say, hey, I could use a hand. All right. And if you're okay, congratulations. But if you know anyone who might be going through stuff, just like Astrid had a person come in her life and showed her a different path, please share this video with them, just so that they're not going to go down a path that you might actually regret, not for them, but for yourself. I can't wait to see how we will help and enable each other with these conversations like this. And if you're really serious about creating sustainable success that feels good from the inside out, I definitely encourage you to check out the links in the show notes below. Until next time, lead gently and live boldly. Bye for now.